This week I'm going to play the songs that are the most recent ones that I've written. I've been doing a sort of series of episodes here where I've been singing the songs I wrote in Seattle and the ones I wrote in San Francisco and so on. And so these are the songs I've written while I've been nomadic. So they've really been written in the western U.S. and Colorado and Hawaii. The first one came about after a long tour that Angelisa and I made, the Harmony people. We went all the way from Ashland to Casper, Wyoming, and saw the total eclipse. And then we headed back, and we had about, it was something like 6,000 miles, and we had a number of different concerts along the way, 12 or 15 different shows. So that was a really huge endeavor. And finally, when we got to Albuquerque or Santa Fe, Angelisa was so exhausted that she just flew straight home. And I drove the rest of the way by myself. And on this drive, I thought, well, gee, I've been writing songs in the car for a long time. I might as well do one right now. And I'd been wanting to write something about the ecological collapses that are happening all over the world for a long time, but it didn't seem like a very easy subject to write about. So I toyed with it and played with it, and until a thing that my dad said to me when I was a kid came to mind, and that started the ball rolling. And by the time I got back to San Luis Obispo, I had a poem, which I turned into a song on a later road trip. So this is Someday Children. A bee doesn't buzz from her own perspective. She feels every wing beat as it thunders in her ears. A tree doesn't speak unless he speaks so slowly that he finishes a sentence every 100 years. By the time I've sung this song, we'll have made 1,000 babies. Chances are those babies see the next century. And 11 billion more will take a look around them, and the truth will dawn upon them as they read their history. Hey there, children, can you hear that sound? It's the silence of the islands and the coastlines drowned. It's the sound of a savannah where the lion never roars. Someday, children, all this will be yours. I go swimming on the reef. I don't forget my sunscreen. It takes a lot of sunscreen in this hot summer sun. And I love to eat my beef, though it outweighs all the mammals in the wild by a factor of 15 to 1. I remember when today was in the far, far future. Now the far, far future is pounding on the shore. If we don't listen now, these troubled times we're going through are gonna look like paradise in another decade more. Hey there, children, can you hear that sound? It's the silence of the islands and the coastlines drowned. It's the sound of a savannah where the lion never roars. Someday, children, all this will be yours. Someday, children, all this will be yours. A bee doesn't buzz from her own perspective. She feels every wing beat as it thunders in her ears. A tree doesn't speak unless he speaks so slowly that he finishes a sentence every 100 years. Thank you. The nice thing about, pardon me?
When did you write that, Gary? I've never heard it.
Oh, yeah, I wrote that in 2017. I wrote the poem while I was on a long drive. And then I put it to music about 5 years later or so, like 2022. Yeah. Yeah, one you haven't heard.
Yeah.
Hello, Reeps. Hello, Ruthie.
Hey, gang.
Yeah, nice. Glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
The lyrics to that last song were written on the way home from the trip to see the eclipse in Casper, Wyoming. And this other song I also started writing a little bit later. I was back in Hawaii again, and I was driving along. I think I had just been to the dump, and I'd turned in about 100 Pellegrino bottles for $5, and that's as I recall. And as I was driving home, I started this pounding rhythm in my head, and I was thinking back about the eclipse and all the ways it was, and it sounded like some sort of a chant or something. The final song turned out to have a bit of that character, but I was singing, "When the sun goes dark, the birds don't make a sound," and I could hear drums and many voices in unison and so forth, and this is how it translated to guitar. This is just a straightforward description of what you see at a total solar eclipse. When the sun goes dark, the birds don't make a sound. When the sun goes dark, the fox comes out and he looks around, and the time has come to gather round, my friends, when the sun goes dark. When the sun goes dark, the planets all come out. When the sun goes dark, the people raise up a joyful shout, and the air grows cool. You don't have time to blink. There's shadow bands and diamond rings, hot pink fire and pearly wings. The night bird calls and the cricket sings when the sun goes dark. When the sun goes dark. When the sun goes dark. And then the show is over. The diamond ring appears. Time begins to move again, and sound comes to my ears. It seems to last forever, and still it ends too soon. Shall we make a new beginning on this newest of new moons? When the sun goes dark, the bees go home to rest. When the sun goes dark, I kiss the ones that I love best. When the sun goes dark, in another place and time, look for me on the center line. Sunset colors all around, 1,000 crescents on the ground. I'll see you all, my friends, when the sun goes dark. 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 All right, thank you. There's a couple of references in that song that I particularly like. It's got the moment that my friend that we were visiting in Casper, who we went to see the eclipse with, decided to look around in the forest while the eclipse was going on. He spent about half the eclipse looking around him to see what he could see, and he saw a fox pop out of the ground and look around and like act confused and then go back into its den, and that made it into the first verse. And another thing I really love about eclipse trips is the sense of camaraderie that happens. It's one of those things where you meet a stranger, a perfect stranger, and you're instantly friends because you have this thing in common. You just came to the Congo or something, from one of you from the Netherlands and the other one from the U.S., and you're bonded already with just the adventure of having arrived there and sharing this super special moment. I highly recommend going and catching at least one total eclipse in your life. Another thing, sorry about that, I bumped my microphone, that must have been loud. Another thing that I like about partial eclipses too is if you have anything with little openings in it, like a straw hat, or you're standing under a tree, then you get all these pinhole camera images of the crescent sun on the ground, and it is so strange, not anything you'll ever see any other time. Yeah. All right, so, oh yeah, sure. And then I'm talking about the songwriting process a little bit. There's a Radiolab episode about a woman who studies language. She's a professor. And she studies languages and inflected languages like Chinese, where if you say something with a different tone, then it means a completely different thing. And she was editing one of her lectures one time, and she accidentally put a short phrase on a loop. And that loop went for a little while without her turning it off. And I think that was the phrase was "sometimes behaves so strangely." As I just said, "sometimes behaves so strangely" over and over again. And as she was listening to it over and over, suddenly it had a melody to it. It went, "sometimes behaves so strangely." And that was just her speaking voice. Language has a music to it. It has a melody, but you don't really hear it until you repeat the same thing over and over again. So I had this poem about my friend who had passed away of her own free will, and it was just a poem, but I thought, I'm going to try that, and I would say each line of the poem over and over and over again until the melody emerged. And finally, the song came out with a melody that I never could have written at a piano or on the guitar or by just thinking about it. I had to hear into the language and see what it sounded like. So here we go. This is Goodbye. The last time I saw my father, we did not say goodbye. We said, "So long, I'll see you." We knew it was a lie. For among the things I loved the most was his optimistic way. And we had to let our eyes express what our voices could not say. What our voices could not say. I said goodbye to you today. I drove away and cried. From grief or awe, I couldn't tell. It's hard to feel the tragedy when you lived and died so well. When you lived and died so well. And how lucky am I to get to say goodbye How lucky am I to get to say goodbye. That's goodbye. Thank you. I still have... My memory is not my distant memory is not a series of videos. It's a series of photographs. I can reconstruct the rest of the scene and how it moved and how it was in my imagination as a story, but all of that starts to take on the aspect of the stories I tell about the memory. But the memories themselves are like just nothing but one frame out of that video the rest of it is all attached to. And the frame I remember from my father that has to do with that song is of me at the door, ready to leave for my plane flight, and the eye contact that we made across the room, and the amount of emotion and power in that eye contact I'll never forget. In fact, it's not even the whole room. It's just a vignette down onto his face, and I can see his eyes, and I can see the level of communication that we were engaging in, even though we couldn't say the same thing in words, and neither one of us could possibly bring ourselves to admit that it might be the last time we saw each other, and it was. The next one is 7 Miles to Memphis, and that one got finished up in 2024, 45 years after the bus trip that the song tells the story of. And those who were here last week, I played this one last week, and I really enjoyed it, and I don't mind playing it again. I hope you don't mind hearing it. But it's quite a new song. This one is the first song I've written that uses this double capo system, where you can put this capo on just the top, the highest 5 strings, and that allows for a beautiful big chord, a D chord that has a bass note in it, and that's so nice. So that's the foundation of that, and then I wrap my thumb around the neck and two, three, four. Got on at the Portland station on the first day out of 3. I liked the way she looked, and I was glad when she sat by me. She said, "Honey, what's your destination?" I said, "Memphis, Tennessee. I got a picking partner there, and it's a place I've always wanted to be." By the time we got to Bend, I knew her whole life story. She knew my dreams and my plans. By morning she was sleeping with her head on my shoulder. I was a happy man. Have a good life. It's been good to know you. It's 7 miles to Memphis. Did you read the sign? Have a good life. It's been good to know you. And maybe sometime, if the wind is right, we'll blow in the same direction for another night. It's a crazy world, and crazy things happen all the time. Next day, we made friends with the neighbors, and I got down my guitar. A couple of the many things you can't do in your car. The kid from Colorado had a 12-string Gibson, and he played on a couple of songs. And then he gathered up his stuff and motioned us to come along. 'Cause everybody knows that all the cool kids gravitate to the back of the bus. We made up endless verses to the Trailways Blues until the driver yelled at us. I was traveling with a sheet of paper that was laced with LSD. I cut cut apart a dozen hits and passed them out for free. A couple hours later, we were all best buddies, and I started playing my own songs. I'd only written half a dozen, so I had to play them twice, and everybody sang along. Have a good life, it's been good to know you. It's 7 miles to Memphis, did you read the sign? Have a good life, it's been good to know you. And maybe sometime, if the wind is right, we'll blow in the same direction for another night. It's a crazy world, and crazy things happen all the time. We stopped to get some breakfast, and the scenery kept moving. When does this cafe slow down? We laughed until it hurt, 'cause they call it trailways. What a trip we took to Memphis town. I had a goodbye hug with my friend from Portland, and we promised that we'd stay in touch. We meant it when we said it, but we knew it doesn't happen too much. I turned back and hollered from the top of the stairs, I'm gonna make it, you wait and see. There was a chorus of agreement, and they all waved back at me. I never stopped writing, I never stopped singing. Did I make it in the music biz? Well, if you do what you love, love will follow. And if that's not success, what is? Have a good life, it's been good to know you. It's 7 miles to Memphis, did you read the sign? Have a good life, it's been good to know you. And maybe sometime, if the wind is right, we'll blow in the same direction for another night. It's a crazy world, and crazy things happen all the time. It's a crazy world, and crazy things happen all the time. Yay. Thank you. Yeah. Everything in that song is true. Exactly, literally. There's one thing. I combined two people to make the kid from Colorado who had the 12-string Gibson. He was from Idaho, actually, and there was another kid from Colorado on the bus, but he wasn't the guitar player. So I'll confess to that slight bit of poetic license. When I first set out on my journey in May of 2022, when I left Ashland and just headed out in my van, I ended up sending an email to my email list, which had a picture of the tent I was camping in under a bridge in Big Sur, and this huge, tall, giant bridge, and there's this little tent underneath it, and I took a picture of the whole spectacle and said, my friends all told me if I stuck with songwriting, I'd be sleeping under a bridge. And they were right. And I really enjoyed that photo. And I also told some more of the story of what I was doing, and my friend Steve Key, who is a musician, a fabulous songwriter who lives in Pismo Beach, California, he said some of the things out of my email sounded like a song to him. And he, instead of just saying, this happens to me often, somebody will say, well, that sounds like a song. But he sent me 2 stanzas. He said, it sounds like a song, and here are 2 stanzas. So I took those, and they weren't quite right for me, but almost completely, and I took them apart and put them back together again and turned it into this song. So it's my one and only co-write with Steve Key of Pismo Beach. He has one hit. Steve has written a hit. Still gets mailbox money to this day. It's called 334578, and it was covered by Kathy Mattea. And so yeah, you can look that up if you want to hear one of his songs. I should learn how to sing that. It's a great song. All right, here we go. Shine. I'll be hitting the road for a little while, looking up friends who can make me smile. Settling here is on my mind, but I can only look as far down the road as my headlights shine. Shine, let 'em shine. They're never gonna shine around the corner, and that's just fine. Shine, let 'em shine. I can only look as far down the road as my headlights shine. Well, I left that town in 22. Thought I'd go home to the place I knew. Stepped in the river, but it wasn't the same. Well, it might have been the place, and it might have been me that changed. So I said to myself, I got 100 friends. I drive all night just to see them again. I don't have a schedule and I don't have a plan, but I've got my freedom and I got my minivan. Shine, let 'em shine. I hope I get to visit every one of them down the line. Shine, let 'em shine. But I can only look as far down the road as my headlights shine. I've been getting rid of the stuff I own. It's easier to fly with hollow bones. Trading it all for a little time to read a novel or write a song, or drive all day just listening to John Prine. Let 'em shine. I don't have a lot of money, but I got a lot of peace of mind. Shine, let 'em shine. I got $47 in my pocket and it's all mine. I'll be hitting the road for a little while, looking up friends who can make me smile. Taking a stand for this life of mine, and looking just as far down the road as my headlights shine. Shine, let 'em shine. They're never gonna shine around the corner, and that's just fine. Shine, let 'em shine. I can only look as far down the road as my headlights shine. I can only look as far down the road as my headlights shine. Okay, great. Thank
There
you.
aren't enough songs about minivans.
No kidding.
Plenty of songs about pickup trucks and hot rods, but
Yeah, but
I
not a
can't
lot.
think of any other minivan songs.
Really? Yeah, that line always brings a smile to my face. Hey, you know, I'm not an RVer, and I don't have a pickup truck. I got a Honda Odyssey. Dang good car, by the way.
Yeah.
Honda Odyssey. Yeah. I used to be a dedicated Toyota fan, but man, this car's impresses the heck out of me. Well, as my next to last song here, I just pasted my tip jar in the chat again for latecomers, and I hope you'll contribute. I had a friend tell me one time, he said, I think that eroticism is the fountain of youth. He's about my age, and I agree. Yeah. And so I decided to write a song about that, and I'm gonna sing it now. So this one's called Hormone Therapy. Hello, cells. This is your consciousness here. We've got a situation we haven't seen in a while. There's someone in my life. This is a wake-up call. It's a rejuvenation. We're going out in style. We call it hormone therapy. Makes us feel we're half our age. There's never been a doctor who could make us feel as good as we do when we're having hormone therapy. Now we get to turn the page and write another chapter in the history of me and you, me and you, me and you, me and you. Hello, love. We've got the place to ourselves. We've got an education we didn't get in school. The kids are grown and gone. We don't have to work in the morning, and there are no adults here to tell us what to do. We've got hormone therapy. Makes us feel we're half our age. There's never been a doctor who could make us feel as good as we do when we're having hormone therapy. And now we get to turn the page and write another chapter in the history of me and you, me and you, me and you, me and you. Hello, you. This is your body here. We've got a celebration, 30 trillion strong. Whatever you just did, it was the medicine, the recombobulation we needed all along. Hormone therapy makes us feel we're half our age. There's never been a doctor who could make us feel as good as we do when we're having hormone therapy. Now we get to turn the page